This is something you call a commercial sewing pattern. I wanted to sew for a long time to be able to make my own clothes, but sewing patterns really intimidated me. I thought they were very confusing. I'm going to break it down and make it as simple as possible for you to be able to start making your own clothes. So when you go to a fabric store, they have a huge selection of books that you can flick through to find a pattern, and they're usually organized into topics. You name it, you can find a pattern that you will like. Write down the number, you go over to the drawers and you find your pattern. Make sure that when you do select your pattern that you've got the right size range. One tip that I find really useful when I'm shopping for sewing patterns is to put on a colorblind lens, because I can see these beautiful images or illustrations and think, oh, I would love that dress, I would love that outfit, but really I'm just attracted to the print and the fabric rather than the actual style of dress. Look at the back of the pattern and you get a better idea of the cut and the style and the way that the dress will sit on your body. To figure out your size and how much fabric you need for the project, you look at the back at this little flap and you're gonna measure your bust, your waist, and your hip. And then you're gonna see what size those measurements fall under. Then also at the back, they've got a list of fabric suggestions. So this dress, I'm actually wearing this dress that I made in the B option. This is a rayon or a viscose, so it's just plain polyester. Try and choose fabrics that are similar in texture to the ones that they suggest. And if you don't know, then just pick a fabric and try. It doesn't hurt to just test it out. Make sure you know which option you're going to go for. So a lot of sewing patterns have several sewing patterns within them. This pattern has dress A, dress B, which I'm wearing, and dress C. So once you have your size, you're going to look at the amount of fabric you need. So say I'm a size 10, and I've chosen this fabric that's 150 centimeters wide. You can see that on the description of the fabric. Go to the back, you've got centimeters and yards. I use centimeters, so I'm gonna go, okay, my fabric is 150 centimeters wide. I'm a size 10, so it says that I'm gonna need 2.3 meters. I would probably then ask the lady at the fabric store to cut out 2.5, just to be safe. The last thing to look at on the back is the notions. So that just means the accessories that you might need. Then you're gonna open the pattern up, pull everything out. The pieces are cut out, but usually they're these huge pieces of tissue paper with all the pieces on one, and then you cut them out roughly around all of them. You can cut out your size before you place it on the fabric, but I find that it saves time to just roughly cut it out and then put it on the fabric and then pin and cut out your size then. I'm gonna take these instructions and then you have a breakdown of all the pattern pieces you need. I would recommend finding those pieces and putting them together and ironing them with low heat just to get all the creases out. I really wouldn't be too focused on this first page apart from this section where the pattern pieces are listed. If you're really struggling to fit all the pattern pieces onto the fabric, that's when I would look at the cutting layout suggestions. This step requires a narrow hem. So I'm gonna go back to the glossary and figure out what does narrow hem mean. You've also got Google, so just look up the terms there. The second page, you've got the instructions. So this is where you start. And with interfacing, which is fusing, that stiffens the fabric. You usually start with darts and really easy steps like creating the waistband. And then you just slowly progress and take it step by step. This is the third page, so just more instructions. All of these instructions on the first page are for all three dresses. You can see that, for example, this step is just for dress A. And this step is just for dresses B and C because they've got the ruffles. All of this is French, so you don't need it. I speak French, but I don't read my sewing patterns in French. Do you know what I mean? Just all of this pretty much can be disregarded. So you're pretty much just looking at 2 pages, like that's it. When it comes to the pattern pieces, let's look at this one. So this is a ruffle. This is the grain line. So the grain line needs to be parallel to the edge of the fabric. That way you know that the fabric's going to be sitting properly on your body. It's not going to be twisting around you. Cut 2. So on 2 layers of fabric, you're going to place this. This is a notch. You're going to give this a little snip. When you join the pieces, you're going to see that the snip on your ruffle lines up with the snip on your dress, and you know that that's in the right place. Here is a little marking that you can mark with an erasable pen or with chalk. It just helps you to know sometimes where to sew. This is another little mark that you just draw a little circle on the fabric. Let's look at another piece. Number 5. This is the front of the sleeve. Mark the bubble for the size 10. Here you've got a triangle that you're going to mark for size 10. You've got a notch here, a notch here, and a notch here. This is the grain line, so you're going to put this parallel to the edge of the fabric, which is the selvage. And it says cut 2. So you're going to ideally have this on 2 layers of fabric. I also really like to show the numbers when I put the pattern pieces back when I'm done, because that way it's really easy to just grab them and see what I need next time I use the sewing patterns. So I recommend starting with a really easy project. Start with a shift dress, or gathering is a really great skill to learn when you're beginning. Here I have some other brands of sewing patterns. You've got Vogue and McCall's. This is a beautiful dress and it's very easy. Like, you can make incredible things even as a beginner. Just break it down. Honestly, don't overcomplicate it, and don't beat yourself up if you make mistakes, because that's all part of it. I think it's good that you make mistakes because you're learning and it means that you're making progress. There's not always a right or wrong way to sew and make clothes. It's like there's not a right or wrong way to cut an onion, you know? It's just, you have a cut onion at the end. You have a made dress at the end. Just figuring out how you like to do things, and you might find your own shortcuts. You might pick up different tips from people. It's just getting practice, and don't put pressure on yourself to get it right. I have made probably more mistakes than finished garments. Enjoy the process. It's not always about making stuff and adding to your wardrobe. It's about the craft and taking time for yourself to enjoy your hobby. There's no pressure behind it. Unless you're making a wedding dress, then that's a different story. And once you start sewing for a long time, you kind of know what steps come next. Like, it's obvious that if I put notches in for a dart, there's going to be a dart. Or it kind of becomes intuitive after a while, and you can guess the steps that come, but don't jump ahead. Like, just take your time. I hope this helps someone, and please let me know if you have any more questions about sewing patterns. It's such a fun hobby, and to be able to say that you make your own clothes is incredible. When I began sewing patterns, I opened a Pandora box, and I just can't stop sewing because it is so much fun. It's like a puzzle. It's like putting the pieces together to construct something that you get to wear. Like, how awesome is that?